For an hour, I assume?
Yeah.
Yes. And because you have a meeting at 4.
Okay.
Yep. Be about an hour. Are you live on the other one already? Oh, so you went live before you started recording? Okay. Well, we're live while he's setting this all up. Hi, guys.
Hi.
So our live camera is going to be this one right here.
Okay.
And if people come in with questions, I figured they could, maybe he can holler them out at us.
Okay.
All right. Guys, welcome to another episode of Spoken Like a Man. I'm the man, Donnie. I appreciate you tuning in. Really excited today. I actually have Mayor Lily in here with us. So excited to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming. Take some time out of your busy schedule. I know with everything going on with the city manager, you're probably pretty busy. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Well, I kind of want to just dig in. This is, we already kind of told you I wanted this to be more of a personal, not political. So I just want to kind of dig into who you are as a person, not just the mayor. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So tell us who Lily Wu is outside of the mayorship. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I think a lot of folks don't know me as a person, maybe because they know me as a reporter. So that was my previous profession prior to coming in as mayor. But for those that do know me from being a Wichitan, I have been a Wichitan myself for over 30 years. So that's how people know me. I've been in this community since I was 8 years old. Wichita is my home, but I was not born here. So I was actually born in Guatemala. My very first language is Spanish. My parents are Chinese by ethnicity. So I also speak Chinese.
Very nice.
And I speak English. And so my family immigrated to the United States back in 1993. And I always loved sharing my parents' story because it's truly a story of the American dream. My parents left communist China in the hopes and dreams of one day coming to America, but they knew they couldn't just come in here. So what they did is they went to a developing country. They went to Guatemala, and they started the process of wanting to come to America thanks to my grandpa, who was our sponsor to come to America. So if you do the legal immigration process, you have to have a sponsor, someone that vouches for you, that says that, if anything happens, that sponsor will help this family as they immigrate into the United States and are settled in the United States. And so the legal immigration process takes a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told you that my parents had that dream. My parents left communist China in 1983. I was born in 1984 in Guatemala.
Oh, nice.
And so we didn't come to America until 1993. And so what people may not know about Lily is that I'm just a truly very grateful individual. I am so grateful to live here in the United States. I am so lucky to live in Wichita. And now I'm blessed to have the opportunity to serve the community that invested in me. I grew up here in Wichita, so I went through Wichita Public Schools. I went to Wichita State University. I started my career here in our community, and now I get to serve as the 103rd mayor. So that's a bit about myself and my origin story, I guess.
I love that. I love
yeah.
that. I love that your parents didn't kind of sneak into the country or overstay a visa. I'll use inflammatory wording. I don't mind. It shows why America is such a great country, right? You are just such a great example of that. Your parents coming here legally, you coming up through the city and becoming a mayor, like getting part of leadership, and like, I love that it just shows who we are as a country, right? And you've got, you said Spanish is your first language, you speak Chinese, your parents are from Guatemala. Like, if that doesn't show that we're a good country and like with an eclectic country, like, I don't know what would. So, what parts of your upbringing or childhood kind of shaped you into the person you have become? So, like, were you in the church? Was there any kind of background faith-wise that kind of shaped you into the person that you are?
Yeah, so growing up in Guatemala, I don't know if many of your viewers might know this, but Guatemala is a predominantly Catholic community. And so I went to Catholic schools when I was little. I had the opportunity to go through the school system up until I was 8 years old. And then I came to the United States. So we came to this country in April of 1993. So there's only, 2 months left of school before it ends. And so I am so grateful that I got to go through Wichita Public Schools. The very first school that I attended was not my neighborhood school. So if you remember back in the 1990s, there weren't a lot of English as a second language programs. There were only a select few schools that had that program. And so I was bused from Southwest Wichita to about West Wichita. So I lived near Pawnee and Seneca, but my school was Lawrence Elementary School, where I got bused. So over by Maple and West Street. And so I still remember my very first day of school. I didn't speak English, so I didn't understand my teachers. I didn't understand my peers. I was just plopped in new into a school where the school year is almost over. And so I went home crying, and I begged my mom, and I asked her to please take us back home. Can you please take us back home? And it was in that moment that my mom reminded us, this is our new home, that I had to grow up. I had to grow up fast because I knew that I would have to take a leadership role within my own family. I knew that that leadership role would be to be a translator for my family. Because I knew that I could help in that aspect, I focused all my energy into learning the language. I remember going to the libraries, learning more about just how to read, but not even that. It was the opportunity to see that even young people can be leaders. Even young people can help lead a family. And so that was my very first introduction to being a Wichitan. Another introduction I had of being a Wichitan was when I had a neighbor knock on our door. So when we first came to the US, we lived with my grandpa in a very modest house, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath house. And it was in Southwest Wichita. And I remember living intergenerationally, grandparents and our family, my mom, my dad, my brother, and me. And I remember someone knocked on our door and invited us to go to church. That's what we need to get back to.
Oh, yes.
We need to get back to the early 1990s of people truly being good neighbors and knocking on the door because they see someone new in the neighborhood. And instead of asking, who are they? You come over and you introduce yourself and say, how can I help you?
Here's a casserole.
Yeah, and so that neighbor, I'm so grateful because she invited us to go to Emmanuel Baptist Church on South Broadway. And I am so grateful to neighbors who saw this new immigrant family and that it really does take more than just your immediate family to truly raise a child. It requires neighbors helping out, church members helping out. That's what it means to be an American. And I think that Wichita exemplifies that, or it did for me when I was growing up. And so I'm always going to be indebted to all the neighbors in this community that helped raise me. And among other people that really influenced my life were the school teachers. And I, in particular, had a wonderful mentor. This mentor, after I went to Lawrence Elementary School, I was able to graduate from the ESL program, English as a Second Language program, and was able to come back to my neighborhood school. So Woodman Elementary was where I finished out elementary school.
Oh, right around the corner over here.
Yep. And so I was able to go there, and then I was able to go to middle school at Truesdale. We would walk to Truesdale Middle School from our home. And for 3 years I was there. But what I had, which was truly a godsend, was having a school psychologist by the name of Stephanie Sorensen, who took me and two other young ladies under her wing. So 3 young ladies she mentored. And that's what I say about this community. What we need more from this community is we need people outside of your home to help impart knowledge and wisdom into our young people. And that's where mentors come in. That's where you can be part of the solution. While you may have your own kiddos, there's probably an opportunity for you to either coach, to either just mentor another kid in the neighborhood or through a program. We need more people like that. So for me, it was Stephanie. And thanks to Stephanie, Mrs. Sorensen is who I call to this very day. She has mentored me since I was a teenager, all the way to now. I still call her up once in a while, and I see her, and I appreciate that we have such wonderful people who invest their time to become educators or be part of the education system, and then also take on young people to become their mentees. And so I'm so grateful that I had wonderful mentors like Stephanie.
I kind of like how you put that. I remember growing up. We're about the same age. I remember growing up. That I'm not advocating for this, but going down the road. Oh, wonderful! Will you come here and turn them on for me, please?
Yes.
So my intern actually didn't get the cameras recording. Glad this is live, guys.
Sorry.
Bear with me. That's all right.
You're good.
That's fine.
Just these two? Is
No,
everything else
I need
on?
that third one as well.
Okay.
But I remember growing up, because I grew up kind of in Park City, so my dad was a preacher. We moved around a lot. But I remember it wasn't just me you're talking about being raised by everybody. I was disciplined by everybody. I was one of those kids. When you get home, by the time you get home, you've been whooped a few times, is the way I grew up. But I agree we need to get back to the leadership roles and the community coming together. And I actually think a lot of that, I don't know if you know the premise of a lot of my podcasts, I want to help lift men up into their leadership responsibilities and stuff like that. And I think men are lacking in that area. Stepping up in their communities, in their churches, in their homes, and I think that's a huge issue that we're dealing with at the moment. And I think that is where a lot of our societal problems are as a whole, is just the nuclear family. I feel like it being under attack, specifically fatherless homes, and then the guys that are growing up in those homes not having a father in their home to teach them how to come into manhood.
And male mentors.
Yes, and male mentors. So that was exactly kind of, I like that you said that, because I agree with you completely. And you already kind of touched on it. Who your mentors were, so I'm going to skip that one. But what are some specific experiences that really shaped your values as a person? So the principles that you hold and personally guide your life right now. Some like a specific instance, something like this was life altering.
Oh, absolutely. So the big motto that I carry with me is I'm a public servant now, right? In this position, I really don't like to be called a politician, because a politician is thinking about their next thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a public servant. I'm thinking about how can I make it better and leave it better than I found it. And so I became mayor almost 2 years ago. I got elected into office November of 2023. I actually took the oath in January of 24. So I haven't fully completed 2 years, but I think that what we need when it comes to understanding the role of an elected is we're actual public servants. We're here to serve the community. And so what guides me is service above self. And that's a motto from Rotary. So I'm going to give you a little background regarding Rotary for me specifically. So Rotary is an organization that's of business professionals and leaders in a community that want to do service for the citizens of that community. And so back in college, I went to Wichita State University, and I really was trying to figure out what will I do next. I'm going to graduate from Wichita State. I actually graduated from WSU back in 2007. And so during that time, people were telling me, well, there's a really great scholarship called the Rotary Ambassadorial Scholarship. And that scholarship would allow a person that completes their undergraduate to get their graduate degree somewhere else. And so I looked at that application and I said, oh my goodness, this would be such a great opportunity, because to kind of full circle moment it back from the beginning of our conversation, I actually learned English by not just going through Wichita Public Schools. I learned English by watching television.
Uh-huh.
So I actually watched local programming with my grandpa. He loved watching Channel 3, and he liked watching the 6 o'clock news, followed by, what's the game show right after?
What was it, Wheel of Fortune?
Good job,
Yeah.
Wheel of Fortune. And so Pat and Vanna were good out of classroom teachers, but I also say that the journalists back in the early 1990s were also my teachers. They were teaching me about American culture and what it meant to live in Wichita and live in the United States. And so for me, I've always considered them my other role models. And so ever since I was 8 years old, I wanted to become a journalist. I wanted to become like those people that were sharing with me the language, the culture. And in the early 90s, the 6 o'clock newscast would be the super local stories. you would know about the volunteering that was happening, the great program that was happening over the weekend, and it was hyper local. And so that is actually what inspired my eventual career of becoming a journalist. So now fast forward to being in college, I get this opportunity in front of me that could further my education, and it was graduate school. And I looked at it and I said, wow, this could be an opportunity for me to pursue my master's degree in journalism. And so I applied and I got selected. I got to represent the city of Wichita, South Central Kansas, and the Rotary group from southern Kansas to the panhandle of Oklahoma. That's the district of Rotary that I got to represent by being a Rotary ambassadorial scholar. And so I went to Hong Kong to pursue my master's degree. And their big motto, again, is service above self. So while I was getting my education, I was also serving at the same time. My service when I was in Hong Kong was providing presentations about Rotary, my life story, about being an American when I was abroad. So when I was there, I gave over 50 presentations in both English and Chinese.
Wow.
And so I gave my service in being an ambassador for this community. So now fast forward to 2025, the role that I get to play now is to be Wichita's mayor. But in our form of government, the mayor is actually the ambassador for the city of Wichita. The mayor is the spokesperson for really this community. And so what I get to do now is serve. And so service above self is really the motto that carries with me and really signifies what I'm doing these 4 years as mayor. And what has been eye-opening is that a lot of people don't know that they can also serve. They can serve in multiple capacities. Going back to being a mentor, we need more mentors in our community. We need more men and women serving other young people with their wisdom. And like you said, when you were growing up, it was discipline. And for me, it was guidance and helping me reach my full potential. Mm-hmm. And I really believe that that's what adults can provide for young people. And so while I'm serving in this public service capacity, you can also serve our community.
I like that. So that actually kind of leads into my next one. We're actually a really diverse community. So how do you personally approach understanding like everybody in the diverse community and everybody who sees it differently, making sure that everybody has a voice? I'll have to admit, I felt like I haven't really had one on a few occasions. So how is it that you kind of make sure that everybody has that voice?
You know, I'm always cognizant that just because you come to city council and you may be loud does not mean that you represent everybody in our community. I know how difficult it is for individuals to come to city council because they are on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m., yes, which a majority of the people are either at school or at work. So I know that that's a barrier. One of the things I tried since I became mayor is to provide more evening time meetings. So these evening time meetings allow people that get off from work or school and can attend a meeting. And so now we've instated that we have 4 evening meetings a year, once a quarter, that start at 6 p.m. And so that has been actually very popular. If you've watched some of our evening council meetings, people appreciate having a different time opportunity to come to city council because I want your voice to be heard. I want more people's voices to be heard, and I understand that not everyone comes to city council. So when it comes to hearing diverse voices, I'm always cognizant who is missing at this table or who is missing at this council meeting, who is missing at this city forum, because I have to make sure that when I make my decision, it's for the best of the community. It might not be in favor of just one group, but I have to think about it 400 residents. Mm-hmm. And that cannot be just one specific tiny group. It has to be the majority of the community. And that's why I appreciate when people send me direct emails, direct messages, have these conversations like we're having today. I want to hear more from our community. I believe I'm the most accessible mayor that Wichita has ever had.
I don't think it was too hard to get you over here. It really would. I know you're busy. It took a sec to get you in, but communication, being able to communicate with you, setting it up was not complicated at all. It really wasn't. And I appreciate that.
I want to make sure that I am getting more feedback from our community, and then at the end of the day, I pray God provides me wisdom, because at the end of the day, I'm only responsible for my vote. In our form of government, and a lot of people still don't understand, I'm just one vote on the council. Even if I wanted to move the ship a different way, I would have to have convinced 3 other people to vote my way in order for the ship to move the direction I wanted. So in our form of government, I don't have veto power and I don't have executive powers.
Right.
I also don't have managerial powers. So that's where the city manager comes into play. You alluded that, we've been very busy these last few weeks, and that's because we're in the middle of a city manager selection process.
I forget his name, so I fully admit I haven't kept on that as much as I could, but I do know that the gentleman was retiring, right? So we're trying to fill that spot. We narrowed it down to a few people, and then you had one drop out. So how's that going for you?
Sure, let me give you an update because I do want to make mention. I think that oftentimes, back to the lack of understanding how local government works, I really believe local government has to take care of the basics first. The basics are, when you call 911, you want to make sure that there's either a police officer or a firefighter. And in the county side, an EMS worker, the ambulance arriving. From the city side, we also have to take care of public works. What does public works mean? Streets, stormwater, sewer, and basic drinking water. That's what the essentials are. Police, fire, public works. Those are really the core functions of local government. And so the city manager, however, is the person that manages the system. So the management of that system is the CEO. And that CEO is the city manager who has been in his position now for 16 years.
Yeah.
We have not had a new city manager since then. And so that person, it manages the system of 16 departments, and those 16 departments, that's why I created this. This right here is a handout to help you understand local government. So there are 16 departments, and there are 3,000 people who belong to that system. And again, who do they report to? If you look at the chart, the city manager. And so who does the city manager report to? He reports to the city council. And who does the city council report to? To the citizens of Wichita. So that's the structure that we have. So oftentimes people will ask me questions regarding a city manager position, and I'm not the city manager. I have no hiring or firing power as city manager. However, I have the hiring and firing power with the council on the city manager position.
If you can get them to go your way.
Correct. So now to this point in time in 2025, I am so grateful that there were nearly 80 applicants that wanted to become the city manager for the city of Wichita. We had a selection process. It started with the selection of a consulting firm so that there would be true transparency and non-bias. So that consultant got hired, and then there was a selection committee that helped with that selection process. And so I'm going to name out these people because I want to say thank you to them because they really became really good volunteers, objective volunteers. They have no interworkings with the city of Wichita other than they're concerned citizens with knowledge of how human resources work, how the systems of big organizations work, and also they're Wichitans. Whether they live here or work here, they're important stakeholders. So I'm grateful to the chair of the committee, Jennifer McDonald, vice chair of the committee, Dan Pear, and then the rest of the committee were Aaron Bastian, Brad Elliott, Stephanie Harder, Daryl Kelly, Andrea Scarpelli, Josh Shorter, Sherry Utash, Nok Vung, and Jordan Walker. So these, again, were selected from the council members, and these are people that have experience hiring and also are just community members that are important stakeholders. And so they helped us narrow the list down from about 80 applicants to a list of 3 finalists. And so those 3 finalists came to Wichita. 2 of the finalists were external candidates, and the 3rd finalist was an internal candidate. So those
the
3
assistant manager.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
So the city of Wichita actually has 2 assistant city managers. One assistant city manager handles more of the police, fire, that group of departments. And the second assistant city manager, he handles more of the economic development or jobs and job creation topics. And so those are the two assistant city managers. The one that handles more public safety, his name is Dante Martin. And then the one who handles economic development is Troy Anderson. So at the end of the day, there were 3 finalists, Dante, and then there were 2 external, Dennis Marstall and Mike Freitag. And so these 2 individuals are now the final 2 because Dante has dropped out. Mm-hmm. And so what will happen, and this is literally in the next 24 hours, you will know who the next city manager is, because we will have a city council meeting. Tomorrow's Tuesday. We will have a city council meeting that starts off with workshop. And so every 4th Tuesday of the month, we have something called workshop, which means it is a topic that the council will get to like ask questions about in public, and then they will help shape some sort of policy to bring it forward to a future meeting where then we would vote. During a workshop, there's no voting. It's just talking about a subject. However, tomorrow, we will not only have the workshop, we will then have an executive session, which executive session means we are in a meeting with the city attorney, and a lot of this information in the private executive session is attorney-client privilege information. And so usually personnel matters are executive session items. So we will get out of executive session and come out into public, and we will then discuss how each of the 7 of us will decide on the city manager, and we will do an open vote and have rationale behind it. So you will find out who the next city manager is tomorrow.
Nice. All right. So, yeah, we went off on direction I wasn't going there. So, when you think, I'll bring this up because you said you don't like being called a politician. I'm actually very grateful to know that, because I didn't know a lot of that, right? So thank you for that. But we're talking about integrity, and whether it's in your private life or public life. I am now, so I'm huge change of subject. What's that look like to you? And the reason why I bring it up is I've talked to a few politicians here recently, because I'm trying to be more involved, right? Because I don't necessarily like the way some things are going. It's like, okay, so what do I do? So when you think about integrity in your private life or your public life, what does that look like to you? Because, I'm sorry, let me wrap that back around. I feel like politicians squirm out of talking about things they don't want to talk about, and I don't care for it, right? And I think that is not integrity, right? I feel like even if it's an uncomfortable topic, you should be able to at least be able to put your stance on it. So what is, when you think about integrity in your private life or your public life, what's that look like to you?
Well, integrity is doing the right thing whether someone's watching or not watching, especially when someone's not watching. I've been very clear from the very beginning of when I ran to now being in government and governing. So being a candidate to now being a public servant, I've always been who I am. And what I've always told people is, in local government, we need to stay focused on what local government is supposed to do. When it comes to social topics, abortion, anything beyond those really social, red taboo, really it's between you and your family, you and your priest, you and God. Mm-hmm. I am not here to be your priest. I am not your mother. I'm here to help this community, elevate this community as mayor in a positive way. And I'm going to stay focused on the basics of what local government should be doing. We need to make sure that we have enough police officers and firefighters. When you call 911, I want to make sure that you have the necessary public servants that will respond to the call. When it comes to the other role of local government is, when you turn on the faucet, you want to make sure that you have clean water. When you flush the toilet, you want to make sure that that wastewater actually goes to a sewer plant. And you want to make sure that when you drive to school or work, you are not driving through roads that are so mismanaged or have so many potholes that then you're going to have to replace your car.
Right.
That's the role of local government. If I wanted to talk about those other issues, the social issues, those are really at the state level. So those are where the legislature makes a decision.
Where they can make the changes.
Yes. And then the federal government, those are the things that, again, people just sometimes forget that there are different forms of government and we're all different. And in local government in the city of Wichita, not only do you pay taxes for local city services,
My potholes, my
Yes.
water to work. Yeah.
you also then pay for county services. County is the county jail, the county health department, the county tag office that really belongs really to the state, but they have to carry out the services at the tag office at the county level. Then you also have one more, and oftentimes people don't get because many people call the office about schools. I have nothing to do with schools. I cannot help you with a suspension. I can't help you with firing a teacher. I can't help you with those things that don't belong to city government. And so I've been very clear that I want to stay in my lane and I want to stay focused on really taking care of the basic things that make local government work for you. I came into office because of my deep sense of gratitude to the city. I'm a very grateful person because I know that I received a free public school education. But there's no such thing as free. Free simply means that someone
Somebody else paid for
invested
it, yeah.
in someone or in something. In this case, the citizens of Wichita, the taxpayers back in the 90s and early 2000s, they invested in me. They maybe did not know that they were investing in Lily Wu, but they were investing in USD 259 so that I could get a public school education. And now I'm the product of that public school education. I'm trying to be the best return on investment to this community. And so back to the idea of integrity, I've always said, and I will continue to focus my energy on what local government's supposed to do, and the things that are not in my wheelhouse and really should not be in my wheelhouse, because I don't have many powers as mayor.
Right.
And the way that you see, a lot of people don't like me calling it this, but it is what it is. It's a weak mayor system. A weak mayor system simply means that the mayor doesn't have veto power, the mayor has no executive power, and the mayor has no managerial power. So I'm really powerless. So the real power I have is the power to live out my life, that other people can also say, well, that's something that my child could see as a role model. That person is someone that I could see as a role model. And so I try to live out my life the same way that I carry it in my private life as my public life. My parents live in this city, and I want to make them proud. I want my mom, who's a hairstylist in Wichita, and my dad, who recently retired from Dillon's, to be proud of their daughter, because they sacrificed so much to become Americans so that they could give me this opportunity. So I'm not going to make them not proud. So I live out my life making sure that I can live up to the standard that my parents have set, but an even greater standard that I have set for myself, and that is full of gratitude and full of integrity.
So, I'm not going to dig into it, but like those social issues that you have no control over, do you think it's important? Because I believe it's important for us to know that about folks, even if people don't have any kind of control over it, right? Because I believe I have not just integrity, but moral fiber, right? So I want to know who I'm voting for. Like, I want to know who I'm putting in office. I want to know these things about people. So do you think, from a citizen standpoint, it's important to know those things? I know we want to know whether or not they're going to do the job they're there for, right? It's a very political answer, right? And that's no offense to you. I don't mean it that way, but I know that you're there to do a job. I actually have a high amount of faith in you, the fact that you're going to do what you're there to do, no matter what your opinions are, and I've seen the evidence of it, right? But I still, when I'm voting for somebody, I don't base it off of, like, I'm Republican or Democrat. I want to know who the person is that I'm voting for. So I take those social issues into account when I am voting for people. Do you not think that would be a good approach?
I think that it is a great approach if you are asking for just my personal opinion.
Yes.
Because I'm not going to govern that way, right? Like, I'm not here to set a policy that will affect people's rights.
You can't.
I can't,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, you can't.
So what I can only speak about is how I would carry out for my own life. I can only speak for myself. I have deep personal responsibility, and I believe that that's how we should be speaking. I take accountability for my actions. And so for me, if you want to know anything about me, I'm pretty much an open book. I tell you how I believe if you ask me about my opinion. But that is different than
You have
setting
any
out
kind of
a
control
policy.
over it,
Correct.
setting any policy.
Yes.
No, I agree. I keep it completely separate, but that's really how I base who I vote for. And like I've had people. I'm going completely off of this. I've talked to folks and when I want to talk about stuff, and they're like, "Well, I'm not going to talk about that." I'm just like, "Then why would I vote for you, right? If you want to be secretive, because I think that wraps around into that integrity, right? If you have stuff you feel like you need to hide or you don't want to talk about, you're probably not going to get my vote. That's kind of the way I look at those things. And like I said, I know now that I'm getting to know you a little bit, I know some of those stances that you have, and I can tell from how you've acted that you don't let your personal views and values really impact how your policies go, because you do have such a diverse community that you have to keep in mind of, and not everybody's going to align with your views. You know what, that's actually a really good question. How do you balance that when you have these personal convictions? Because I'm sure there's some policies that are against core values, or there's things that you've had to do that you don't necessarily agree with in your personal life that you've had to do because it was for the betterment of your diverse community that you're looking out for. How do you handle that?
Well, first and foremost, as a Christian woman, I have asked for my pastor's help. I know I can't do this alone. And I also know whom I really, at the end of the day, will be responding to. So I have a higher power that I ask for help. So I am not afraid to ask for help. And I'm not afraid to ask for wisdom. And so as a woman of faith, I know that in my personal life, I require prayer, and I require prayers from others. And so when it comes to social issues, and I know where you're going with this, that was a difficult decision, but I did not vote for that proclamation. However, if you understand a proclamation does not take away rights from people. A proclamation is a piece of paper that is supposed to celebrate a specific topic. For many a years, we have been, as a city of Wichita, having a proclamation that signifies Pride Month. That has passed every single year for the past, I think, 5 years. Last year, in 2024, there was a proclamation that was called the LGBTQIA+ Pride Month proclamation. It passed. I presented that proclamation. However, this year, and I will allow people to go and find the information regarding who submitted the request for the proclamation. But that proclamation was the first ever of its kind. It had not been requested the past 4 years before me. So it was to put me in a position to make a social stance. But that stance was already made last year, being very inclusive, not again, discriminating against anyone. But this one, and I have used the word correctly, that's segregated a community. That set aside and pulled aside one of the letters from LGBTQIA+ and segregated it and said we need to just focus on this one. When there was already one that was very inclusive, very diverse, and again, proclamations do not take away rights or grant rights.
Yep, nope. It's just.
And so I did not vote for it. And the biggest problem with that is I didn't also refuse to provide this proclamation. Instead, I allowed the 4 people who voted for it to come forward and say, this is the first of its kind. They voted for it. I'm giving them the opportunity to be the ones to present it. I did not make a fuss about it. I don't want to create any issues for the individuals who identify as transgender. That is not my role. I love people and I respect people. I respect your rights. But a proclamation is not a granting of rights or a taking away of rights.
Nope, I agree.
And so for me, I again deferred to the 4 other council members who were in favor of this to come forward and present it. So, and I really want to make sure that people understand, I am here to represent 400,000 people, not just one group of the 400,000 people. So I have to be mindful because I have had a ton of emails and phone calls and in-person interactions with Christians who have thanked me for having a courageous stance, which was to not vote for it, but also not be rude about individuals who identify from that community. Because I care about all Wichitans, and I really mean it. I believe that God asks us to take care of one another as individuals, and I want to make sure that I respect individuals, and if that is what you want to believe, don't ask me to cheerlead for it though, because then that's going against
Then you're being forced to do something.
my rights.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, and I like your stance in the way you're describing that. I think oftentimes disagreement gets conflated with hatred. I really do. And when you're saying, I can go as far when you're saying I care about every individual, you care about every transgender as well, just the same as I do. Just because I disagree with something doesn't mean I dislike a person, right? I disagree with there's no hatred there, there's no animosity. Just don't try to impede on my rights, right? And that's kind of the stance that I hold on it. And I had a lot of respect for you when you did that. And the backlash that you received for it, oh my goodness, I prayed for you.
And I
did.
really appreciate
Like
those
watching
prayers.
you go through that, and it's like, man, I can't believe how much she's going through, because I don't think you did anything wrong. You're trying to be forced to stand up for something that you don't necessarily agree with. It seems silly to me. So
You know, one of the things that I think is important to make mention is I got a lot of hate mail and a lot of hate. It's one thing to come into public office and receive backlash for a vote. It's another to threaten me and threaten my safety. That's uncalled for. Political violence is real, and it is not fair to any
100%.
public servant, whether it's me, my council members currently on the council, or previous council members. It should never get to the point where we're at in society today where violence is acceptable, or even the threat of violence being acceptable. It is not acceptable. And that is not what a politician or an elected officer or a public servant has signed up for. You can criticize decisions, and I will welcome the criticism. I want to learn from why you think my vote against or for a specific topic. But putting me at risk of my safety and threatening me, that is not acceptable
No,
at any
absolutely.
level of government.
And you know what? Even normal guys, and I wasn't even going to segue into Charlie Kirk, but that to me is a perfect example of it. Just a man speaking his opinion, and not even just a Christian opinion. I don't think that somebody had an opposing view of mine that was speaking that way should have harm done to them, right? Why are we silencing people for speaking opinions when that's what our country was founded on, right? We're supposed to have that freedom of speech without that fear of, okay, this guy is actually, speaking truth, and I don't like it. I'm going to get in my feels and assassinate him. I'm going to threaten people. I disagree with that wholeheartedly, and I think that you're right. We're in a society where it's being, I don't know, perpetuated, I would say, probably. If you have a disagreeing view, we have to silence it, and I would never try to silence somebody that I disagree with. The perfect example, so the community that we're referring to, I actually tried to get an interview. Actually, I bet you do know June, right? So I tried to have an interview with June. They offered a one-on-one interview with me because I'd gone to one of their events, and I was talking to people just about God, getting opinions and stuff. There was nothing, no animosity, no hatred. And they said that I made people uncomfortable because of my religious beliefs. And I was on public property. I was like, all right, I'll tell you what, man. How about this? Come give me a one-on-one interview, and we'll come talk about it. June's the one that read at the proclamation, the transgender fellow, ma'am, miss.
I think it was Abby.
I thought it was
Abby?
June at the Pride Proclamation this year. June.
Oh, okay.
June,
Okay.
yeah, the Pride Proclamation this year. So I tried to have an interview with them, and I would have them on here and just have an open dialogue with them. I have no animosity, and I think even June would attest to that. I think that's how we all need to approach these things. Just sit down and have conversations. When we stop talking, that's when these issues come up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a rant there, but I really respect your stance on that. I prayed for you because I know it was hard. Oh, I do kind of have a question about it, though. So I've read that you received some kind of administrative action over all of this.
So what happened was anyone is allowed to bring up ethics complaints, and I had over 24 ethic complaints just regarding that. And part of it was misinformation. I did not refuse to sign. My signature was an electronic signature from back in the day that clerical people would just put on the proclamation. My signature was not on there. But I also did not ask for my signature to be removed. So that was the clerical error. And so that was not the issue. The issue they said was the issue of me not reading the proclamation.
Yeah, not actually reading it.
So again, I did not vote for it. I did not ask for my signature to be removed, but I also did not refuse to read it. I simply allowed the 4 other individuals who voted for it to read it. They were proud to make that vote, to be the very first ever of that type of proclamation. And I, again, will stand by the word. It was a segregation of a group that we had already been very inclusive about during the month of June, the prior year, and then even this year. And that's what I guess a lot of folks still will say. They didn't understand the ethics complaints process, but the process was that because I did not read it,
yes,
there was no reprimand.
So that's kind of what I was getting at, because you were found. I don't know how all that works. You were found guilty. You appealed, found guilty again, or something like that, and they said, "So what?" My outlook on that. Okay, so you found guilty. Was there actual administrative action of any
No.
kind? Just on paper,
No.
you were found guilty. Yeah, I wouldn't have cared myself. I was like, okay, found me guilty. Big whoop. That's just my personal sense on that. I am truly sorry that you went through all of that, and I just think it's ridiculous. So when you encounter people who strongly disagree with your personal beliefs, what principles guide you on how to react to that? I know you said you're a Christian. I know you did, but like I know in the heat of the moment, or I've read a lot of your public stance, and like the way you address things is just so wonderful. I love that about you. What helps you keep your composure when you're dealing with all of that nonsense?
So I really start off with one of my core values, and I think it really goes back to, I think everyone has this core value of respect, of giving respect, but then asking for respect back. And so I have been respectful. I will continue to be respectful, but I also will be passionate about a stance when it comes to things like policy that we're actually voting on or information that has not been revealed. I come from a background of being a journalist. So what I want is facts. I don't want sugar-coated facts. I just want the facts. Tell me what happened prior to me becoming mayor. Tell me all of the wrongs. Tell me what was the mistake. We can't move forward unless we're all honest about the facts, the data. Then we can actually make a decision moving forward. And it does require that conversation, that dialogue, that compromise. But you can only have it when you're open to listening to all the facts first and then forming your opinion, but also asking for other people's opinions. And then maybe at some point you're going to compromise to a better resolution. So it really starts with respect. And then it really is about making sure that we all have facts first. As a journalist, that's what I want. And I carry that attitude into this office because, again, being a one-vote person, I can only speak for myself. And so when I speak from the bench, I am direct. I'm direct not because I am a hateful person. I'm direct because I want to know the information so that I can make the best decision. Because, again, I'm going to be held accountable to my yes, my no vote. I have to answer to those. And so I need to know all the information. I need to hear from our community, but not just the ones who are coming to the council. I need to hear it from people as I'm at the grocery store, or if I'm at an event, or having conversations like this here. I want to have truly a diverse point of view of a topic, and then I will make a decision. But how do I handle folks who are in disagreement with me? It really comes down to being respectful and knowing that I love people. I truly love people. And I am not going to have ill will towards the person. We might disagree on a topic, but it's not against the person. So again, be agreeable to the disagreement.
Yep. Yeah. No, and I love how you put that. It's just, I think there's so many people that don't understand that. It's a disagreement with that topic. It's a disagreement with that idea. It's a disagreement with that subject. It's not a dislike of that person at all. And it's hard to, I think it's hard for, and I think our culture is causing it really. It's hard for people to separate the two. They think it's the same thing, and it's really not. So I like that. And that, like I said, as your actions, you have shown time and again that you respect people. I don't think you've been disrespectful at all, and I have a lot of respect for things that you've done. So how do you see your responsibilities in protecting the rights and freedoms of people from both sides of the sensitive culture? I know you kind of spoke on that a little bit, but and you don't really have a lot of impact. Like you said, you're not having a lot of merit. I'll put it this way. You have a voice for a lot of people that share a lot of the same core life. You know what? I'm going to change that question entirely. Forgive me. I'm going to change that question entirely. So you said that you didn't vote for that because it was, what was the word you used? I'm sorry. Not polarizing. I mean, it is polarizing, but discriminatory, right? You didn't vote for it because I think you said it was discriminatory?
So it's segregated.
Segregated. That's right.
Group.
Segregated. So I feel like a lot of Christians actually would have made that same vote, but not for those same reasons, right? So if your moral values align with that segregation, how do you say, okay, I'm doing this because it's segregation? And I know that's a very difficult, squirmy question to answer. How can you separate that and be like, okay, I am open about my Christian beliefs, my moral beliefs, but I'm voting for this because it's segregated when those two things align?
So I think what comes down to I didn't even vote for that proclamation was because of what it did, which was the very first ever of this kind. Not only that, but it was an opportunity for 4 people to say why they cared so much about it that they brought it to the forefront. I don't want people of any minority group to be harmed. And I think it was disingenuous by the person who actually submitted this proclamation, which was not the person who accepted or read it. Mm-hmm. If someone actually went back to see who submitted it, it really is disheartening because I did not want that to be the focal point of focusing on a group that was already feeling uncomfortable. And I have had some individuals from that community say we did not want that limelight. And I think that that's where we have to be very respectful of people. I don't, again, as a Christian woman, I know what the Bible says, but I'm here not to be your preacher. I have none of those capabilities. I can only live out my life and be responsible for my actions. And I, again, have said we need to focus on what local government does, not these social issues that have no bearing. Like, I did not take away rights from these individuals. However, a lot of the hate mail that came said, why did you take away the rights of this group? And I said, I didn't even respond because they didn't understand what that was. But again, at the end of the day, I cannot be the one person that I'm here elected by the people. Not all 400,000 people, but I'm supposed to represent 400,000 people. And they come from diverse points of view, religious, cultural, and I need to be very cognizant that when I do something like that, it really is speaking on the behalf of all 400,000. And when I know that many individuals that did not come to that council meeting were not in favor of it, but they didn't show up because they know the arrows that I've been taking, and they did not want to take those arrows, but they've been emailing me. They've been sending me messages saying thank you for standing up. Again, I'm not trying to bring these social issues that should not be at the forefront of what local government should be working on.
Yeah.
That is not our job.
Yep.
I, again, will reiterate, I am not your mom, I'm not your pastor.
Let me reiterate, I'm here to find out who you are as a person, not your political capabilities or what you're doing politically, right? So my show, I like to talk to people, right? I don't like to talk to office, right? You have no control over any of that. You have done a very good job of making sure that your personal beliefs do not impact what you're doing there. And I really do believe that, and I feel that I couldn't do it. You're much tougher than me. I'm telling you, I would be up there. No, God says no. I'm sorry, not going to. That would be all the stance I would need to take. But I do realize, and you do such a good job of balancing out, okay, how would that impact these people? How would that impact these people? Rather than just how it impacts yourself. Mad respect. I couldn't do it. I would just be up there. Nope, God says we're not going to celebrate that, so I'm not going to vote for it. That would be all the stance I needed, right? So nothing but respect for you. And I'm sorry that you're going through all that. And you know what? You spoke to something else too, because so I owned a business prior to this, and I got out of it. And when I started, because I'm pretty public about all of this, and I'm open about social issues that I disagree with, because I feel like we should all be able to talk about it. You're in a much more difficult situation than me. I couldn't imagine it myself. But you get the public and the open hatred, right? And the, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you saying this? Why are you saying this? But then you get the private messages from the other people that own businesses. I'm referencing what I've gone through. That own businesses that they know they can't talk about their personal beliefs or their personal convictions because of the backlash and the damage that happens to their business. My business is taking damage from me taking my social stances, right? And I feel like I've been silenced about these things. People feel attacked. It's just, there's so much strife there, right? And you, like I said, you're just tougher than me, man. These businesses, getting the messages from them, it really feels good. Much like you said, you've had these messages. You get the bad ones, but then you get the good ones like, man, I wish I could say something, but I can't because it'll hurt my business. It's crazy to me that this is the culture that we live in.
You know, I have to balance. I want to make sure that people know that when you're here in Wichita, you live here in our community, and you're a contributor in our community, I want you to feel cared for and respected. And so when I make what I say as an individual or as the mayor of Wichita, I'm trying to bring people together. I truly am. We have to be on the same team, because I can tell you, other cities want our people. Other cities want our jobs. And so I want to make sure that Wichita is a welcoming city. The same city that welcomed me is the same city I'm asking all of us to be accepting of, but also continue to strive to be. And the only way to do that really is to be good neighbors. And I'm going to reiterate that we need more people to be good neighbors. Get to know the people on your left, your right, in front of you. Ask, you know, what's been going on. If you haven't seen them in a while, you know, it's Thanksgiving week. Let's be thankful that we live in the United States of America, a country where people still believe in the beacon of hope. Let's continue being that light and that hope for people by being good neighbors. And I can't solve the things in DC, in Topeka, but here in Wichita, I can hopefully mobilize people to care for one another. That we do care. We may not agree on everything. My mom and I don't agree on everything. And I think that that's what we need to get back to. It's going to be Thanksgiving. I get it. Not everyone's going to agree on certain topics. I know politics, religion, etc. But can we remember what's most important? I have seen so much death this year. People losing their lives. And the fragileness of life is real. And so that fragility of life is what we need to remind ourselves, that every life matters, and that let's connect, let's reconnect as human beings, as neighbors, as family members. And I think the best example of that is I was a reporter before I became mayor, and during Thanksgiving a few years ago, I did a story of the two Hoheisels, Mike Hoheisel and Nick Hoheisel, a Democrat and a Republican. They're brothers. They were serving together on Thanksgiving Day, helping the citizens of South Wichita and beyond, really. And they come together to serve. Both of them are public servants. One is on our city council, the other is a state legislator. And both of them can still love each other as brothers, but they're gonna disagree.
Mm-hmm.
But you can be respectful, you can still care for one another, and they can still see the humanity in each other. Let's get back to that, because then we can have dialogue. Then we can maybe come to a resolution or maybe an understanding of what the capabilities of a specific office really are. Again, I can't grant rights, I can't take them away,
Mm-hmm.
and so I always talk about personal responsibility, and I want to make sure that I'm accountable for my actions, but I can't speak on your behalf. You can speak for yourself.
No, I really like that, and I try to really push to bring people together, and I love that you said that. Everything I do, I try to show the love of God, and I try to bring people together. I started a little community garden in my front yard, and I feed the community, give everything away for free. I've worked with a group that has severe political, religious disagreements with me called ICT Tree Huggers. We don't agree about anything, but we agree with coming together, helping with gardening in the communities, and feeding communities where people are less fortunate so that they have food. If we, you know what, that's what God is about, is love. And I'll let you give a last thought here, but I'm going to give a last thought real quick. God is love, and I think a lot of people forget that. And He loves all of us equally, the exact same. And if we can get back to that and show love instead of what's going on, I think our world, our culture, our society would be in a much better position. Just come together, show each other love, and I believe that's how you show the love of God.
I agree wholeheartedly. I say that every day I look for the goodness. It's the goodness in people from God. And so I wake up every morning feeling truly grateful. I truly am guided by gratitude. Gratitude comes from God for me. And I am, again, so thankful that this community helped an immigrant family like mine reach our full potential as little kids to now adults. And now I have parents who still live here in our community. All I'm trying to do is make it better for all of us, including my parents. I want to make sure that their sacrifice was not in vain, that they came to this country with the hope and the dream that their kids could be better than they are. That's what they dreamed of. And the way that they did that was through education. So I will forever be indebted to the entire community who helped me get an education. And next year is America's 250th anniversary. Let's remind ourselves what it means to be an American. And I say being an American is being a good citizen. And citizenship derives from service to others. So while you may be a consumer of things, think about being a contributor to your community. Volunteering, giving your time, giving your wisdom, especially to the next generation. And so I am so, again, grateful to live here and the opportunity to have 4 years to serve this city, leave it better than I found it, and continue just focusing on the things that are in my lane. And what I'm gonna do, it's my promise to this community that I will do my best. And I can only talk about my actions and myself and my yes and my no, or my abstain votes or no votes. And I just wanna make sure that I live up to that standard for you, that you will be proud of me for, again, focusing on the core functions of what local government should be working on.
I love that. Well, and tell you what, I kind of know why the cameras didn't get turned on when we first started. It's because I didn't pray. So if you don't mind, I'd like to pray for you real quick. Father God, I just appreciate the opportunity that I had to talk to Mayor Lily here. She's an amazing woman. She loves you. I ask that we lift her up to you, that she can have wisdom and help guide the people that she needs to help out, and make sure that she's showing your love. Give her strength in the time of difficulties. Give her wisdom and help her make the right decisions, and help her do everything to glorify you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right.